boom! It's Friday.
Sorry, is that our new show intro now?
Yeah, boom. I just go like boom. I mean, what the hell? I haven't got a jingle yet. I'll get a jingle. If he ever comes back to the UK when he's not touring and to thousands of Italians and Spaniards going mental for him, I'll get Ray to do another thing.
You can imagine it now,
can't you? Like my last
the midday show. That's the place for you.
You to go. My name's Ray Gelato. Baba Zuba. Basically that. Anyway,
you're the second person today I've heard do some sort of impression of Louis Armstrong. I don't know what's going on. It's very weird.
I see trees of green, red roses too. They went in my eye when I went. That's basically it. It's either that or Helen Shapiro. Quite. Oh, God, what a day I've had so far. Never mind, I'm here. So, how are you, Mr. Phil Dave?
I'm very well, thank you. Mr. Russ Kane, how are you?
I'm all right, yeah, it's enough.
But now that we've done the intro of our
now we've done the complete nonsense, pretending we care. Hey, we do care about this guy. Do you see what I did there? That's like almost a professional segue.
Oh, honestly.
We know he's fearless. And I always call him fearless because when other people go, oh, this is a great show. Oh, you must see it. And he thinks, no, it's not a great, it's all right.
I call him Jonathan.
I call him Mr. Baz.
Greetings.
Well, there's quite an intro for you if ever you heard it.
Mr. Baz.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Now, Jonathan, this is the first time you and I have worked together on the New Look Midday show. So especially for you, as Kylie and Jason once said, just to let you watch what happens to the background, because this is the new theatre background for you. Isn't that exciting?
Look at
very
that.
nice, but it's nice. I can see the spotlights whizzing above our heads.
Yeah, that's right. Beautiful.
It's our moment in the spotlight.
It is. Jonathan, you might as well enjoy it.
I'm savouring it.
Savor every second of it.
You just hope I hit.
Try not to peak too early.
Yeah.
One day.
Mr. Baz, your 5-minute call. Mr. Baz, your 5-minute call.
Anyway.
Begin as an orchestra to the stage. Begin as an orchestra.
So, gentlemen, I have a handful of quite a few shows actually to.
Thank goodness for that. It would have been a really boring discussion if you didn't.
What about spotlights? Yeah,
to zip through.
All right.
Bit of musical, bit of drama. I'm going to start with the musicals first.
Okay.
I'm going to finish with the plays. And the first tuneful, very, very tuneful show that I'm going to talk about is Just for One Day, which is the live.
Well, you know the show only finishes at 1 o'clock.
Ho ho. And
he's got Deem Up Happy. He's got Deem Up Happy.
Gosh,
he's going away.
Sorry, so just for one day. Sorry, we are listening. I promise you.
Yes, I know. I'm just recollecting the times when it was only one of you presenting the show, and it's
no. You just have to
muscle it.
There you go, superhero bad.
It's a lovely tribute. Just for One Day is a lovely tribute to the gig in 1985 that filled Wembley Stadium. That was, of course, itself an offshoot from the work that Bob Geldof and co put together on Band Aid. And to be honest, if you're over 45, it is a lovely, very lovely night at the theatre.
Oh, that's me straight out.
Yeah, there you go.
So looking forward to it.
It's fun. It's crammed full of songs, which to be fair, and all credit to the onstage band who are outstanding. The music is great, and the bits that link the music together, to be honest, not quite as great as the songs themselves. They've tried to thread a story together of a woman who saw it in her teenage years, was at the concert, and a lovely romantic story about how she got her ticket, and some of the show is her looking back. In between of that, there is the songs. It's crammed full of them. The music is great. It's an averagely priced London show. It's worth seeing if you're of a certain age and you want to reminisce. in which case don't.
I couldn't stand Band-Aid.
One particular actor who plays Bob Geldof doesn't do a bad job at all. A chap called Craig Else. He is recognizable as Geldof and that mad Irishman. It's good fun, and like I say, it's a jolly good reminisce. And
now, can I ask though, with stuff, I always get a bit dubious with stuff like this, because I was like to say exactly the same with Mamma Mia, with the Queen musical, with anything like that. Anything that is based on music that we all know and love, it takes, I think, a very brave individual, but also possibly arguably a lazy individual, to use the music that is so popular with people already and then put it into a show and then put their own spin on it. If they put their own spin on it, does it ruin the experience of watching or listening to that kind of music that we all know live? Or does it add to it? Does it take it away? Is it lazy? I don't see the point in these shows, if I'm honest.
So, the book has been written by a chap called John O'Farrell, who's written a number of show books. Some people like his work. Personally, I think it's okay. As far as, I don't take a snobbish view on the concept of the jukebox musical. My view is, if it gives the audience good entertainment and they know what they're getting for when they part up with their cash at the box office, you go and buy a ticket for Mamma Mia, it does what it says on the tin.
That's right.
It's a load of ABBA. You happen to love ABBA. Judy Kramer put together this show however many years ago it was, 25 years, I forget. And she did it very well. The book writer came along and put together this lovely corny story about the woman on the Greek island trying to find the father of her child. Sorry, I hope that's not a spoiler for anyone.
Spoiler alert.
And if the paying punters are happy to part with their dosh and be entertained, I would say in a number of instances that jukebox musicals offer better entertainment than some newly crafted musicals. There's nothing wrong with it if you know what you're getting. If it's done well, it gives the audience good entertainment. It gives the cast paid employment. It gives the producers
and the crew
money in their pocket. The cast and crew get work. The producers get money in their pocket, having risked their dosh on investing in the show, blah, 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 blah. Why not? I'm not going to take a snobbish view against them.
But don't misunderstand me. I don't think this is about me having a snobbish view per se. It's just, I can't help but think that it's two things I think of. Number one, I feel like it rides off the back of other people's success.
You're standing on the shoulder of giants is what you're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, you can euphemize it whichever way you want, but it is basically ripping off other people's work. That's what it is. Well, and it's also it makes me sort of think that sort of if you are going to the theatre and you're going to experience something that you're already familiar with, then there's not any really sort of great experience to be had, because part of the excitement of theatre is the great unknown. For example, yesterday I went to go and see the Cable Street musical. And I thought it was absolutely, I had no idea how on earth they were going to do a musical out of Cable Street, but my God, did they do it? It was fantastic. But I think you're imposing your views as to what a trip to the theatre should be. Okay. Maybe.
You said, and to be honest, some people, the idea of a trip to the theatre is to go and have a good old knees up to Mamma Mia.
And have a sing-along. And have a sing-along.
And a sing-along. And whilst, Phil, that's not your particular choice, and fair play, because actually we segue nicely into Cable Street, having sung praises for Just for One Day. I thought Cable Street was more of a road to hell paved with good intentions.
Wow. Okay.
Here we go.
It was
I didn't like the
story.
rapping very much. Not to
what
give
was
the
achieved. Oh yes, indeed. What was achieved in the Battle of Cable Street was remarkable, momentous. And I feel what's happened in the musical of Cable Street, which, to be fair and to its credit, is completely sold out. It's only returns that are available at the Southwark Playhouse. But Alex Konevsky, who's written the book, Tim Gilvin has written the songs and the music. I feel that the book is I find it lacks credibility. It's a very thin story that links a Jewish family, an Irish family, and a young Northern English lad who's down looking for work and is attracted to the British Union of Fascists. I think it's probably worth remembering that what Cable Street is all about is the Battle of Cable Street happened in 1936 when Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists planned to march through really the heart of London's Jewish East End. And what was remarkable about that day was that so many thousands and thousands of Londoners from across a broad stretch of London's communities, some English, some immigrant, Irish, etc., banded together. There was a battle. The fascists did not pass, and it was momentous in that respect. I feel it is not given sufficient weight in the story. I find it's treated far too lightly and unbelievably. I was on the verge when I was sitting in the theatre at press night making this is a 3-star show. It then came to the ending with this rather stupid denouement on a rooftop and a vengeful showdown between two individuals.
I can't deny I didn't get that bit.
I thought that was, I'm sorry, I thought that was absolutely an awful ending.
You're full of spoilers today, Baz.
Yeah, but I'm not saying who had vengeance against who. You know, it disappointed me even further. Listen, some fabulous performance in there. There's lovely, lovely work. All of the actors are fabulous. I think in particular of Sophie Ragavelis, I hope that's pronounced her name, Shah Desi, Joshua Ginsberg, and Jez Unwin. All brilliant, all working their socks off. And to be fair, you know, the show sold its tickets. It may transfer onto other places. I don't think it treats Cable Street with the appropriate credibility and magnitude that the day suggested, together also with the nastiness of the fascists, is far too shallowly presented in the show, which also then brings us nicely into another mention for Tracy Ann Oberman's Merchant of Venice, which opened during last week, opened properly at the Criterion West End. I've caught up with the show when it opened last year in Watford. I then caught up again when it played just off Cable Street at Wilton's in November. Also, chillingly, then just after, sadly, what occurred in Israel on October the 7th, and then subsequently promoted an awful lot of, which is still going on to this day, anti-Semitic protests on the streets of London most weekends. So to wander up to Wilton's that Saturday evening was chilling in itself. And now to catch up with the show for the third time, which I saw last week, accompanied by the venerable Mr. Kane. And what that production
was magnificent. It was magnificent.
Under Tracy Ann's vision, and it is a vision of hers, is it takes the Merchant of Venice, plonks it fairly and squarely in England of the 1930s,
1936,
and shows really sharply how vile the fascism of England's Mitford classes were at that time. It's the little throwaway glances, not so much comments because Shakespeare wrote the script, but it's the glances, it's the attitudes, and wherever possible, the script as well. Really, you know, if you can get a ticket to go and see that, if you haven't already seen it, it's not a happy night in the theatre by any means. It's a very clever night at the theatre. The company then blended into the confrontation of Cable Street of 1936. And
seamlessly, you know, can I just jump in? Seamlessly, and that takes clever plotting. I'm going to say clever plotting and direction. It just completely morphs from what is essentially Venice. Of course it's not, but essentially Venice, and it just morphs into Cable Street. And if you think, I'm sorry to jump in on your parade, JB, but that's the difference between something which is cobbled together and clunky, and both of you are saying at the end of the Cable Street musical or play, whatever it is, you know, there's this confrontation, and it's like, where does that come? What's all that about? It takes skill, and this Merchant of Venice production, it's called Merchant of Venice 1936, as you kindly pointed out to me. Ronnie Wood was in this week. Absolutely loving it. Ronnie Wood from the Stones, absolutely loved it. Simon Sharma was in this week as well. it's just a wonderful piece of theatre, and so timely and beautifully acted.
Yep. And a testament, I have to say, Tracy Ann Oban has been an absolute champion of the project. And yes, go and see it. It is good theatre.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry to jump in. Phil and I both have a similar view with theatre, television, and films, where they take something very well known and they say, "I know we've got to be woke about it, so we'll make the man's part a woman, or we'll just go and do casting because it ticks a box." And you think, you know, what the hell? This is all madness. And the notion of, when I first saw it being promoted, and it said that Shylock will be played by Tracy Ann Oban, I thought, okay, brave. You know, I'll go with it. Let's see. It works seamlessly. It's quite extraordinary. It absolutely works completely, three-dimensionally. It was terrific.
And I'm going to talk about, when you talk about that seamlessness and you think, oh, you know, Tracy Ann as Shylock, the last play that I'm going to talk about is a play called Nye. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but in there you have a rather brilliant actor who's a person of color playing Winston Churchill, and the portrayal is seamless. And similarly, a woman plays Clement Attlee, and I would also say that is seamless too. I'll come on to talk about the play shortly.
I would have to trust.
You're going to have to trust my judgment.
My jaw is kind of on the
casting is outstanding.
Is that Michael Sheen? Am I going mad?
Michael Sheen plays Nye. But anyway, let me come on to that. Before we come to Nye, let me talk about another National Theatre production, which is Standing at the Sky's Edge, which has very recently made its West End transfer across the river from the National over to the Gillian Lynn Theatre in Covent Garden. This is a musical set and based around a massive housing estate, which is now in fact the largest listed building in Europe. Such was its impact as a piece of architecture, called the Park Hill Estate in Sheffield. And this is a show that charts effectively the three families who occupy one duplex apartment over the course of 50 or 60 years. It's a time frame through this apartment. And it's full of social comment. The first family are a poor steel worker and his wife who've come away from Sheffield slums and have now moved into more decent housing. The next families move in are Liberian refugees, and the third household is a young professional woman from London. So the first one was escaping poverty, the second one is escaping Liberia, the third one is escaping London and a failed relationship. It's a possibly lovely framework for a story and for a musical. The music is written by Richard Hawley. He of associations with Pulp. He's a very skillful tunesmith. Yes, however, I found it to be a very lightweight night. I found the writing to be a little cliched and shallow, a little bit of an agitprop event, bringing in every cliched trope of the left that could be brought in. And
did they hate the London woman?
Interestingly, no, they didn't hate the London woman. But there were so many fleeting passing references to so many issues that were just done in such a shallow way. And I found myself comparing it to Willie Russell's Blood Brothers 40 years ago, which was brilliant. It looked at social mobility with families being moved from poverty to better housing. Blood Brothers also took a fair old swipe at the cruelties of the economics of the Thatcher era. It did it brilliantly, and it really stuck the knife in the audience's heart. As far as I'm concerned, Standing at the Sky's Edge tickles with a huge raft of social issues. Doesn't choose to mention, for example, the child grooming scandals, which certainly tainted Sheffield and many of the towns around it in South Yorkshire. That doesn't get a mention at all in this landscape of 50, 60 years of Sheffield, quite. So the music, I have to say, Richard Hawley's songs are lovely, but lyrically lazy. There's a lot of repetition. Whereas you think about people who labor over writing a song, making, countless clever rhymes. When you take the same words and you repeat them 10 times in a song, it sounds more like inane Stock Aitken,
That sounds
sorry,
like
Stock
something from
Aitken,
Beyonce.
Waterman are not in vain. They're very clever.
Just sounds
Rihanna.
like a needle's got stuck.
Yeah.
I always think that was a song by Rihanna or Beyonce. It's the same thing.
Yeah, the acting is brilliant. Three lovely performances in particular from Laura Pitt-Pulford, Rachel Wooding, and Lauren Redding, all brilliant. The set design is lovely. The lighting is particularly striking. But you know, prices, of course, are pricey.
What are we talking about, JB?
Top price here, we're talking 150 quid. And
Bargain.
I have to say,
what a load of nonsense.
I have to say that, frankly, Agitprop has been replaced by champagne socialism.
Of course. Oh, yeah, we're up. How much is the ticket? 150 quid. Oh.
Perhaps if the show was staged in somewhere site specific. I mean, it did come from Sheffield originally, where certainly ticket prices would have been a lot more affordable as a regional theatre. Maybe in a site-specific setting, the show might have more of a punch. Maybe. As I say, in London, I found myself unmoved by it. I'm going to wrap up with two plays. One of which Nye, as you know,
you've been the busiest man in the world.
It's been a busy few weeks.
Wow.
A unusual play called Nachtland that is currently playing at the Young Vic opened
called what land?
Nachtland. It's a play. Okay. It stars biggest name star in it is Jane Horrocks.
Love her.
And all of the cast are fabulous. And this play explores two siblings and their spouses who meet in the house of their father, who's recently passed away. It's all set in Germany, translated very well by a woman called Maya Zaid. They meet at this house in their father's house. He's just dead. In the attic, they uncover a painting that's all been wrapped up in brown paper. They unwrap the painting, and it turns out it's an old watercolor by Adolf Hitler of a church somewhere in Austria.
Lovely.
And from this painting emerges a whole set of discussions within the family that explores Germany after the Second World War. You might think, God, how can this make for an evening's entertainment? But actually, it's brilliant. It explores right-wing politics and right-wing attitudes in this current era. It explores the Jewish experience post-Holocaust.
Not good, I would have thought.
Which is given even further resonance in the light of current events that we're seeing around the world. And it is brilliantly performed. The two siblings are John Heffernan and Dorothea Meyer-Bennett, who play the brother and sister Philip and Nicola. There's a fabulous performance from a woman called Jenna Organ as Philip's Jewish wife, Judith. And the arguments that she puts forward really are quite compelling. There are moments in the play that are unpleasant to watch, unpleasant to see, and unpleasant to think about. But the acting is brilliant. And the arguments that the playwright has put together, and he's a German playwright, apparently he's very big in Germany, but I've never heard of him over here, Marius von Meyerburg. His arguments are very, very clever and very well put together. And if you're looking for a cerebral night at the theatre, very well acted. Jane Horrocks plays an expert in the artwork of Adolf Hitler and the artwork of that era. So she's a rather unpleasant right-wing lady. Again, a brilliant piece of work. And there's the potential person who's going to come along and buy this painting. His name is Carl, played by Angus Wright. He is absolutely vile. He is the most misogynist piece of work you can ever imagine. But he's brilliant, and it's a compelling performance.
These all sound like absolutely charming people that you'd love to spend an evening with.
Well, quite. It's a difficult night at the theatre.
You see, here's Phil's point. And I think this is really interesting, and it highlights about entertainment. All right? A lot of people are having a really shitty time in all sorts of ways. Post-pandemic, post-lockdown, businesses going left, right, and center. And it's tough. All right? And they need to go out and be, in that wonderful phrase, entertained. And I get where kind of Phil's coming from. I kind of get it, but I really have to steel myself. If somebody says, and I appreciate the good writing, the cleverness, the nuance of it, the depth of it, can I put myself through it? I got to be in the right frame of mind, because sometimes I just want to go along and, have a laugh, and that's it. It's a difficult thing, but ultimately, and this has always guided everything that I do in life, it's the punter paying their hard-earned money to go and see something. And it's not right for any of us or any of the snobs out there to say, oh, you shouldn't be going to see. Hey, their money, they've got the babysitter, they've gone to have a drink beforehand, they've got the transport, they'll have a drink afterwards, go home, take the babysitter home, and all the rest of it. They're putting their money where their mouth is. And I don't like it when people forget that. That's
Absolutely.
What entertainment is.
And one person's meat is another person's poison.
Totally.
There are people who'd rather stick daggers in their eyes than go and see Mamma Mia, for example. And equally, people who do the same thing at the thought of going to see Shakespeare, however well adapted it may be.
Totally.
And we are spoiled in London, to be fair. London has a lot that's good and a lot that's ugly about it. But we are spoilt by the amount of culture that is on offer in the town, be it in the city, be it in the West End, be it on the Fringe, be it music, be it drama. I remember when Manchester won City of Culture many years ago, and there was a radio debate going on, and this chappie from Manchester was very proud of what Manchester had achieved, and there was a response that came back from the person from London, which says, "Yeah, this is great." So, but what goes on in London in one night would keep Manchester going for a year.
That's fair.
It's
not right.
We are spoiled in London with the vast array of often very good stuff that is available for our delectation. And talking of which, let me wrap up with Nye, which I saw last night, which is exceptional. It is the best piece of new writing that I've seen this year. Michael Sheen plays Anna in Nye Bevan, who is famous, who in his time as health minister founded the National Health Service in 1948. The play is ingenious. We meet Nye on his, effectively what is, again, spoiler alert, but it's right in scene one, his deathbed. He's dying of stomach cancer. And Sheen is in his pajamas throughout the whole play, because the play is a morphine-induced hallucination as he goes back through his life, warped through the flexibility of being in a dream. And it starts off in, is it Tredegar, the town in Wales where he came from initially as a miner, worked his way up through local politics, into becoming the MP for Ebbw Vale. We see his relationship with his wife, Jenny Lee, who was a Scots MP, relationship with his friends, relationships with the other politicians with whom he had to compromise and do battle. And I'll talk now about this chappie who plays Winston Churchill in a small cameo. His name is Tony, I hope I pronounced this right, Tony Jayawadena, who, as I say, is a person of color, but he's a portly gentleman. And I have to tell you, when you see him and when he speaks, it's Winston Churchill, and it's credible and it works. And the sparring that goes on between Nye Bevan and Churchill in the script that's been written by a scriptwriter, Tim Price, is very, very clever. Equally,
Jonathan, I'm sorry, but this kind of thing honestly really winds me up, because I'm. Could you imagine the outcry if, say, for example, Martin Luther King was portrayed by someone who was white? It's just ridiculous. Churchill wasn't of color.
Phil, I really am going to take you to task on this one.
Bring it
because
on. Because
I sat there, and I'm a cynical theatre goer. I sat there last night. The story convinced me. The story, I in no way did I feel the narrative of the story was jarred by the actors who were telling the story. I've called out inappropriate casting in the past. The most recent production in London of the Lehman Brothers, the Lehman trilogy, excuse me, which focused on the three Lehman brothers.
Chantal and I actually saw it together.
Included in the most recent casting a person of color, Michael Balogun, who played one of the three brothers. And as you may know, the Lehman story starts off in Alabama in the 1800s. And what annoyed me wasn't so much that it was a person of color playing a white German Jewish man. I could accept that as a principle. What annoyed me was that a person of color was portraying an Alabama and middle-class citizen who clearly made his way up the ladder in terms of successful, profitable cotton trading. And that, I felt, was an insult to history, given how we all know Black people were treated in Alabama in the 1800s and through a huge, huge chunk of the 1900s as well. That is where I take exception to colorblind casting, but I totally stand by what the National Theatre have done in how they've cast Nye. It is, I can't recommend the play highly enough. It's moving, it's brilliant. Technically, the National Theatre is a massive stage with millions of pounds worth of investment inside it as our country's leading theatre. And in Nye, in terms of the technical stuff that it does, not just the cast and the rather clever script and Michael Sheen's outstanding performance, but the technical stuff, the way they use lasers to portray a seam of coal running underground, just brilliant. The way they use hospital curtains very cleverly with a mixture of arranging these curtains up, down, and sideways and using them as projection screens. But ultimately, they're hospital curtains that we're all familiar with being pulled aside and pulled round to give patients privacy, in a ward. Usually, we're not talking about a private room here. We're talking about a ward with half a dozen patients. We're all familiar with the NHS hospital curtains. And the way the design of the stage work has been done is just outstanding. I can't recommend it highly enough. The politics are well argued, and the history is well portrayed. For me, it is everything that theatre should be. Not only that, Michael Sheen sings the wonderful Judy Garland song, Get Happy, and forget your troubles, come on, get happy. So I'm not going to sing it now. And in the most bizarre dream sequence, which only adds a little bit of value to the show as well. So that's it from me. Go and see Nye. It's brilliant, as is Merchant of Venice, 1936.
Marvelous stuff. Thank you, Jonathan.
Jonathan, the world's busiest theatre critic. Safe travels, fella. Safe travels to you. All right. Bye-bye. Bye. I got to say, Phil, I am very much looking forward to Nelson Mandela being portrayed by Keith Lemon. Anyway, there we go. Time now.
I'm telling you, I don't judge. I get what Jonathan said. I get what Jonathan was saying, but I'm sorry, it drives me nuts. But anyway,
it drives you nuts. Really, I get what Jonathan's saying, and Jonathan's a professional theatre critic. He's
indeed, which is why I don't doubt his judgment for a second.
He's called it out when it's not.
It is never appropriate. It's virtue signaling of the world. But anyway, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's move on, shall we? Time now to go from the stage to the screen. Oh, Chantal.
Well, hello.
I'm putting her in the middle. Stop it. I'm putting her in the middle. Thank you.
How are you guys?
We're good. We're marvellous. We are
absolutely
marvellous.
Right, thank you. How are you?
Couldn't be better.
Excellent. Have you had a good week, the pair of you?
Interesting.
Interesting. Challenging.
Like the curate's egg, Chantas. Like the curate's egg. Good in parts.
Okay, well, that's better than bad.
Yeah, no, I've got to say that, and I want to say this to everybody watching all over the world, the Midday Show. Bless you guys. The numbers through the roof. Through the roof. I'm just tickled. Just how tickled I am, Mrs.
Somebody must be broadcasting us by mistake, clearly.
No, I think we've all just worked our
There's
arse
just not
out.
a lot on TV today. So.
Ah, well, there you go. There you go.
Anyway.
Nothing to watch. Nothing to watch.
Mhm.
Phil, how about you? Have you had a good week?
Thank you. Yes, it's been most interesting, I think, is the best way of putting it. But for those who know where I work will know why I say that. But that's
Well, are you invited to the wedding? That's what I want to know. He's getting married again.
No.
He's 92.
Oh, no. I'm not. No. I'm not going down that route. Thank you.
No.
But
I
don't mean that. I
No,
don't mean that.
No, I just want to know. I just want to know if if you want a +1 for the wedding. It's bound to be good. Did you not know that? Yeah, he's 92. He's just announced his engagement to I think she's a Russian biologist or a Russian something or other, and of that ilk. He's 25 years his younger, and just like, Christ, you're 92, fella.
Yeah, we are talking about Rupert Murdoch. I think
talking about the Roo.
Yes,
we are talking. Wow, yeah. His sixth marriage. It's what is that? Optimism over experience. What's that phrase? Yeah. Optimism over experience.
Yeah, but hope springs eternal. He clearly wants somebody keeping his toes warm at night. So happy days.
I ain't getting involved. 92. Wowza. Okie dokie. What have you what have you found?
Well, actually, I was going to just mention it's the Oscars weekend, and if you want to watch it on Sky on Sunday night, don't, because for the first time in 20 years, it's moved to ITV.
Blimey.
Yeah, and Jonathan Ross is going to take us sort of live through the whole thing beforehand.
That's me out. That's me out straight away.
Okay.
I can't take 30 seconds of him. I can't. Just can't.
Isn't that funny that you can't?
I can't bear him.
Really?
I can't watch him. I just.
Well, I do have to tell you that his brother Paul is one of the nicest people.
Paul's a lovely guy. I work with Paul a lot. I work with Paul. He's a lovely chap. Very fond of Paul.
Smashing bloke.
I'm not fond of Jonathan. Anyway, it's just me. It's horses for courses. Other people adore him, but I'm just not my cup of tea.
Okay. Well, yes, Oscars weekend. So if anybody wants to watch it, it'll be on ITV. So I might be watching. I think the time change between here and Los Angeles is slightly shorter at the moment than it normally is. I've got a feeling that it's. I think it's a 7-hour time difference
instead of 8. Yeah.
I think you're going to be up in the middle of the night if you do actually want to see it.
No,
but I think Christopher Nolan is probably going to sweep the board for Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. And then you need to look out for Cillian Murphy because everybody thinks he's going to get Best Actor. Don't know, not sure.
What do you think, Chantal?
Yeah, we want to know your opinion.
Yeah, I think he probably will because I'm not sure that any of the other lead actors are as good as his role. I mean, I didn't think it was perfect, but I mean, he's a brilliant actor. He looks wonderful. He's got amazing cheekbones, and he looks rather like Oppenheimer, who was an incredibly looking man.
But isn't that the thing? I remember reading the reviews at the time. They go, there's a difference between being a brilliant actor. I'm not saying he's not a great actor. I can't act my way out of a paper bag. I know that. But he's a very good actor. Yeah. There's a difference between saying he looks just the right. Well, okay. Yeah. He looks.
Yeah.
He's
clearly an Irish actor. There aren't any Brits. As per the BAFTAs, there were no Brits who won any of the acting categories at all. So we'll see what happens. But no, Cillian Murphy, I think, will get Best Actor.
It'll get Best Film.
Yeah, and it'll get Best Film. And I think possibly Best Actress will either be Emma Stone for Poor Things, which is the bonkers film by Yorgos Lanthimos, or it'll be Lily Gladstone, who plays the Indigenous American.
Oh, yes, the Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah.
And then she was fantastic in that. I thought she was marvelous.
And then they think Robert Downey Jr. is going to probably get Best Supporting Actor for his role in Oppenheimer.
That was a very nuanced, I'm using that word today, performance. It was very subtle.
Yeah.
Because you didn't see where it was going to start with. I thought that was clever. Thought he deserved it.
Yeah. And he's not on screen for very long, but he's brilliant. Anyway,
he steals it.
So that
steals that film.
Steals it. So that's Sunday. And I was thinking during the week that actually I needed to go back to a TV series that started 3 years ago that I never watched. I watched the first episode and I just didn't get into it. And I know that last weekend I was saying you've got to get Apple TV, if only for the free 7-day trial. And my goodness me, I went back to Apple TV to watch Slow Horses.
Oh, yeah.
And I am so thrilled that I did.
Oh, good.
It's brilliant. I mean, you don't get many Oscar and BAFTA winners, you know, doing big television roles. And Gary Oldman is just...
I love Gary Oldman.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And it's about a group of dysfunctional spies. It's modern day London. They've all been thrown out of MI5, but they're still on the book. They're all working out of this dingy sort of suburban office building called Slough House.
Oh,
and they are known as the Slow Horses because they are the misfits, the kooks, the drunks, but they're all still officially on the books as British spies for Her Majesty's government. And actually, the stories are great. The performances are brilliant. It's really
is the storyline good? The storyline, the plot.
Well, the first episode just starts out with you think that there's a bomb at Stansted Airport, and the young, good-looking hero Jack Loudon. You see him, you know, running through Stansted Airport trying to tackle a bomber, and the whole thing goes chaotically wrong. I won't spoil it, but you know right from the get-go that this guy is an absolute mess, and that his career is not going according to plan. And then in virtually the next scene...
I've seen a few people write that about me in my time.
But this isn't what we signed up for. I always love it. I always see on Twitter, like, what would your, if you have to sum up your life, what would it be? And I always write the same thing. Well, that didn't work out as planned. I write the same thing.
I don't think there's any point in doing any planning. I'm much more about extemporization. Just make it up as you go along.
Nice point, actually, sort of really. Just to summarize one's life. How would I summarize mine? I think, what the hell was that?
What was that? What just happened?
What was that all about?
What just happened? That's me. What the hell?
Well, every moment is precious. So let's try and enjoy it.
Damn right. Damn straight.
We're a long time dead.
I was thinking of you yesterday in a nice way, but not a creepy way.
As soon as someone says it, as soon as someone says that, it then makes it creepy. No one thought it was creepy until you said not in a creepy way.
Quite right, Phil.
I'll try again. Anyway, I was catching up on past episodes of Silent Witness, which was created initially by the brilliant Nigel McCreary, who's been so kind to me personally. He's been just so kind. And he's a very, very nice man. And I was just fascinated. I would like your professional opinion, because I went back a few series.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of it has kind of shifted, and it kind of should have stopped, because the thrill about it, the thing was, it was kind of like, you know, CSI. They're forensic scientists.
Yeah.
They're not undercover cops.
No.
And I was watching an episode yesterday, and there's Emily, help, Fox, Amelia Fox. And she's, you know, I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing there? You're a doctor. You're not a police officer. So they're running, and you know, the guy plays Jack, because he's all hench. They're running, and I'm thinking, no, you've completely, I don't know.
Okay.
And the storyline.
Sort of jump the shark, as they say in America.
There you go.
Yeah. It should have been sent to its own personal private television mortuary some years ago, in my opinion. But I try not to.
Then they could have done the post-mortem on it, couldn't they, themselves?
Exactly. I try not to be too unkind, but I think that series went off the boil so badly a few years ago. But
Oh, thank you. No, thank you. The reason I ask is because I'm not a professional like you.
Yeah.
And when I watch stuff, but I do put my writer's hat on, obviously, and working out plot lines, and I think, oh, that's ludicrous. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's never happened. I don't mind suspending belief it's the Marvel universe. Obviously, none of it's meant to be, procedural police forensic drama, and suddenly it's nonsense. Anyway, there we are. Okay, thank you.
Anyway, so yes, for those that want 3 series of what is actually a really, really good television series, go to Slow Horses. If you aren't on Apple, get the 7-day free trial or spend £9 for a month and catch up on them all because it's brilliant. I watched the first 6 episodes over the last couple of days and I cannot wait to see series 2. And the story...
May I thank you? Can I thank you for something, by the way? I always write down your recommendations. And you suggested the Octopus Murders. Right?
I did.
So I thought, oh, bloody hell. And I got sucked in to the Chantal Rickards Vortex. And I sat there till 2:45 in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah, 2:45.
Oops.
And I watched all 4, I don't have a life, all 4 episodes. And I thought, am I any the wiser? And I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but when they summed it up at the end, I thought, you know what? They're right. The guy just looked and went, and I thought, yeah, that's kind of it. They've gone down a rabbit hole, and no.
I know.
Very fascinating.
Completely fascinating. But good. I'm glad you watched it. No,
it's kind of, you know what it reminded me a little bit of? Heart of Darkness.
Oh God,
you're watching, and you're watching somebody starting off with good intentions, and as the story is evolving, you realize they're evaporating as a person. They are being changed, and they're morphing into something else, but they don't have the self-awareness of that.
Yeah,
that's what I thought with the investigators.
Yeah,
fascinating story, but
anyway, good. Okay,
yeah,
well,
thank you for that.
No, pleasure. I thought I'd better find something that was slightly more erudite, because a lot of the stuff I found recently is about sort of kooks and lunatics. So I tuned into a 4-part documentary about Boris Johnson, who clearly is no kook, no lunatic, very sane.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of kooks and lunatics, but anyway.
Hello. I think Phil's still annoyed about the Winston Churchill casting. I can tell. I can see it. He's still annoyed. Let it go.
It's just
don't go and see the play.
Anyway,
he's still upset about it.
Oh,
because it's just wrong. But anyway, keep going.
Oh well.
Whatever.
So Phil, this is one for you. Really.
Do me. I've got feelings. Right. Anyway. Right.
You've offended him.
It's only because I know him so well. I can read his face, and I'm thinking he's still pissed off about the conversation 20 minutes ago.
No, it was actually running through my mind. I can't believe that there were that many cameras there to capture so many murders, so many octopus. But anyway,
it's a fascinating thing. The first episode's the best one. The first episode's an absolute belter, brilliantly put together. I mean, that is a show.
No, it's really good. And I think was it on Netflix? I think it was Netflix.
I don't know where it was. I think Netflix. I think it's Netflix. Yeah, it's good.
SeaWorld by the sound.
Oh, can I just say? Yeah. Can I save everybody? Forgive me. I want to save everybody 2 hours of your life.
Oh,
all right. No need to thank me. No need to save cash. I was looking forward to a film called Spaceman with Adam Sandler, which they were touting heavily on Netflix. I don't know how to say this, and don't take offense. Bollocks. 2 hours of absolute bollocks. It was one of, I'm not going to mince my words here. It was shockingly bad. It wasn't just
the critics gave it 2 nuts. But anyway,
it was mind-blowingly terrible.
Oh, okay.
Now you see, I'm really intrigued.
I tell you why. It was so boring. Everybody was so unlikable. the alien creature is like your sound. I'll tell you what the alien creature was like, right? And you're like, you and I both think the same about LA, right? Both, as you were my lovely landlady there as well. And it's like, you know, when someone's being really passive aggressive in that very Californian way, and they're speaking at you in that kind of monotone, and they're saying, but Phil, I'm not saying you're an idiot, but what I really think is you're not seeing the and this alien,
I get that a lot, by the way.
Well, yeah, precisely. And this alien, I'm thinking, why are you talking? You're like some awful therapist from Santa Monica. Stop it. You're an alien. It's ridiculous. The ending was everything about it was terrible.
Should have turned it off.
Avoid it.
Right. Okay. Well, we won't go down that route.
Why didn't you turn it off?
Because A, I'm a schmuck, and B, I thought it's got to get, for God's sake, it's got to get better.
Well, you're getting a bit suspicious by about maybe an hour and 58 minutes into it.
I kind of was. I thought, well, let's see what the ending is. And of course, it was, it was nothing. It was nothing. It was nothing. It was like, he's on a spaceship, right? He's going out the plots. I don't care. Like Croydon, I don't know where the hell he's going. And suddenly...
Oh, sorry to anyone listening in Croydon.
No, it's not Croydon. Croydon would have been great. Croydon would have been entertaining. And he's on the spaceship, and he sees this huge spider, which is the alien. I'm not giving anything away. It appears kind of straight away.
No, by the sound
and instead of going, what the bloody hell? Where were you? Nothing. He starts asking kind of, questions like it was a mental health program. And I'm like, no. You're encountering an alien, you idiot. How did it get in the ship?
Did he write it too? Do you know, Russ?
I don't know. I would imagine that his gardener wrote it. Either that, or in the office, the production office at Netflix, somebody came in to change, the water coolers. And they said, you. And he went, yeah. What are you doing this afternoon? He said, more water. Write a script instead. Here's 20 quid. That's how it worked. It's terrible.
Oh, dear. Right. Well,
and I'm sure people will say it's intellectually brilliant. It's just
I doubt it.
Rubbish.
I doubt it.
Rubbish. And I love Adam Sandler. He seems like I'd love to meet him. He seems like the nicest man on the planet.
Yeah. No, the last thing he did, it was a sports film that I rather liked that had sort of comedic overtones. It was rather fun.
He's a terrific fellow as a human being. He's just terrific, charming, and delightful.
Backtracking now.
Oh, well.
No, I'm not. The film was awful. I would tell him that. So you're a lovely fellow. Your film was pants.
Yeah, let's hope he's not listening.
Sue me. Yeah, he's bound to be. He's a big fan. Big fan of the show.
Right. I want you to watch this 4-part documentary about Boris Johnson, which is called The Rise and Fall of Boris Johnson. But I'm rather worried about it because I'm not sure that we've seen Boris. I mean, I think it might probably would have been better to have been called Boris Johnson, What Happens Next? Because I'm not sure he's gone.
He hasn't gone.
Could be wrong. But actually, it's a really good 4-part documentary on Channel 4. It came out only either last night or the night before. I've rattled through them all. Very, very good contributors. Lots of very funny things about it, but also really horrific things. I didn't know anything about his background or his chaotic child life, his crazy parents. His mother was she was an inpatient at the Maudsley for 8 months. I mean, must have been awful if you were. I mean, it was a chaotic household for children to grow up in. Mm. And I try and find
But unfortunately, that chaos doesn't show.
Thank goodness for that.
I think, you reap what you sow, basically. And he
certainly has.
Explained. But actually, there are really, really interesting contributors. I mean, Matt Hancock talks about him, old girlfriends talk about him, his family talk about him. It's really fascinating and really worth watching. Very, very easy to watch. It rattles through really, really
Let me ask you this, because so many people say he's just a chancer. I mean, most politicians, let's be honest, they're just chances to make it up on the hoof. But did it come across and this guy's just a chancer?
Yeah. It's Boris is all about Boris.
Yeah, of course.
It's the wonderful world of Boris, and he has no real moral convictions, I don't think, unless everybody, other people see what I don't see. But I think they were the way the documentary plays out. You realise that he was completely surprised by Brexit. He was never actually convinced that Brexit was a good idea, and that the whole thing seemed to be just sort of made up on the back of a fag packet. Anyway,
well, it was David Cameron's stupid notion, thinking that it wasn't going to go anywhere, and suddenly, like a runaway train, Michael Halliday. It just took a life of its own. Boom.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't in the country when the Brexit vote happened, and of course, I wasn't here for all the drama of it, and I'd completely forgotten that
you
David
weren't here
Cameron
for when we were at you weren't here for one of my favourite moments of all time.
Which was
Phil.
Why did I know? As soon as I heard the word Brexit, I thought, I know where this is going. I'm just going to sit here nice and quietly and hope it goes away and it doesn't rear its ugly head
Phil
again.
gives the
But
most
I knew where it was going.
Of course, I can't resist. We're at a lovely dinner.
yes,
There's only 6 of us sitting there in the garden. Phil makes one of the people we've never met before. Our hostess is charming, you know her.
Yeah.
And Phil makes the most innocuous one-liner. I mean, innocuous, right?
I mean, you say innocuous. To be fair, it was, I guess, kind of disparaging if you happen to have voted Remain. But even so,
It was quite. Look, it's dinner. I thought it was funny. You know, we weren't having a political debate to decide who runs the world, right? We're having dinner in the garden, and this woman gets up and storms out of the house.
No, what did you say, Phil?
I might have
I
just
think you're an
told her
ugly
what
cow
I
and I
thought
don't
of
like
the
you. No, he
European Union.
What? No, come on, we need it. Give it to us verbatim.
Oh no, I genuinely can't. I can't use that language on air. But let's just say that I might have said something that was less than complimentary about the European Union and told them where they could go. And as soon as I said that, you know,
she stood up. I thought she was
basically
going to the
stood up.
loo.
Wow.
And
It's
just
the
said,
only time.
I can't stay here with someone who behaves like that.
No.
She left. She walked out.
Left. And
She
bearing in mind,
walked
this
out.
was the middle of the pandemic, so there's only literally 6 people maximum allowed
Yeah.
in the garden at any one time.
Yeah.
And that was it.
The beauty of it was, one, I thought it was hilarious. That's just me. It was great entertainment. But
I hope
two,
it was a funny
in
line.
the decades that I have known Phil Dave, it's the only time I've ever seen him embarrassed. I've never seen Phil doesn't get embarrassed. I just want to die. Phil is tough. Everyone thinks he's not. He's tough as hell. And he doesn't back down. And it's the only time I saw him because he thought that our hostess would be. She thought she was fine.
Dear. Have you been invited back?
Say again, sorry.
Have you been invited back?
Not that group of 6.
Not recently.
I'm delighted to say that that I have just away from that other guest. So yeah.
Wow.
Oops.
Honestly,
I tell you what it was is unbelievably enough. I do sort of somewhere buried deep down, I do have a conscience. And I suppose what it was, I was very aware that sort of to have a group of people in those days was a big deal because actually it was pretty much like the first glimmer of normality creeping back after we'd all been shut away and told that we can't see anyone. So I was just very aware that a lot of effort had gone into arranging this dinner with the 6 of us. And obviously the 6 of us been handpicked because the host thought we'd all get on. And oh dear. Boom! In 2 seconds, I managed to ruin it with one comment. But I have to say,
got to main course at that point.
I have to. Yeah, but she missed out on dessert, so it didn't bother me. But I have to say though that I don't really, in hindsight, when I think about it, I don't think it was me who ruined it. It wasn't me who stormed off. Do you know what I mean? So, I just thought it was very strange.
We would have
behavior.
preferred if it had been you that stormed off. There'd have been more dessert.
Anyway, Chantal, thank you so much.
No
worries. Do you have anything else? Because the beauty of it is, of course, we can go on a bit.
Well, you can. I can't. I've got to go.
No, you can't. You're heading to work and then the airport.
And apart from anything, I don't entirely know how you call it the midday show if it goes on beyond 1 o'clock.
Indeed.
I could call it.
But yes,
boring,
it's true. I have to go and finish some work.
So
and then
we
head
will
off
say farewell and safe travels to Mr. Phil Day.
Thank you.
Bye. Now, anything else while you're here?
Oh,
the other
we'll say
shows?
goodbye to him. I think we say goodbye to him.
He's gone. He's history, baby.
I've gone. Bye.
Phil Who? Oh, thank Christ's sake. He's gone. Yeah. Phil Who?
Well,
That's showbiz. Yeah.
If you
Just
haven't seen
remember.
it,
Oh, for God's sake.
Bye.
can we just keep him out?
We
now
can't
or not?
escape,
I
Kate.
can't keep him. I can't. I wish. I just no.
I'm going
So
now.
does-
Bye.
Such an arse. Such an arse. Right. Anything else quickly that you would like to say? I'm not
Very
putting you on the
briefly.
spot, but if you you know, you
the
do-
Zeitgeist program that everybody's been talking about for the last 2 weeks is called The Jury Murder Trial on Channel 4.
Oh,
And they have completely reenacted an original murder trial. A husband who murders a wife, or kills a wife, I should say.
Yeah.
A husband who kills a wife, and a jury are brought together. This is a real, true story. Jury brought together to decide whether it's manslaughter or murder. But the names have been changed, the dates have been changed, the places have been changed. And what Channel 4 have done is a social experiment, which is reenact the entire trial, word for word. But they have 2 juries watching it. Now, neither jury knows that there is a second jury, so that's just a bit of it's an added frisson or an added element to the experiment. But so both jury thinks that they are the only jury watching this, and they are a jury of real people, clearly not of actors. These are 12 selected people for each jury, the blue jury and the red jury, and they are watching everything that is played out in front of them by actors. And they take it all the way through to the end of the full trial. The show is it's cut up over 4 different episodes, and then there's the big reveal at the end, and you see who's voted what. It was so emotional for the jurors, bearing in mind they are real people, the jurors. Even though they were watching actors, a lot of people were incredibly emotional, very tearful. Some of the women were really upset by things that they were hearing. Because this had been a real case. But the social experiment is absolutely brilliant. And it tells so much about what happens in the judicial world that I would never normally see. And most of us don't. I've never been a juror, but I was fascinated by the process that these fake jurors went through to try and reach a conclusion. It's really interesting.
And the other one, I got that confused with the one in Scotland where they've let the cameras in. What a series. That is sensationally good.
Yeah. So there's another
tremendous.
There's another Scottish one that came out a couple of nights ago, which is called The Push.
The Push. Ooh.
Yes. And they play out the whole trial of again, it's a husband-wife thing, and the wife somehow disappears down the side of I can't remember what the place is called in Edinburgh.
It's called Arthur's Seat.
Arthur's Seat, exactly. And she sadly dies. They are an Asian family from Leeds. And it's all played out.
And she's pregnant as well.
She's pregnant. It's completely fascinating. It's grueling, but it's brilliantly well done. And I think it's on ITV. I think I wrote some notes.
It's on. I think
it's called The Push, Murder on the Cliff. Yeah,
really, really, really good. Chantal Rickards, you living legend. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us on the Midday Show. Have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, you
my
too.
Best. Thank you. Right. Bye-bye. Isn't she great? Love Chantal. Well, that's it for another week on the brand new Midday Show. Bless you. Record numbers all over the world. I'm overwhelmed. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I'm overwhelmed. I'm thrilled. I never take your presents for granted. Although your presents at Christmas wasn't great. I sent some of them back to John Lewis. Have a wonderful weekend. We will be back, God willing, with a fair wind on Monday. And until then, please take care and try and stay out of trouble. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.